Hey everyone, I'm just having a little technical difficulties with my internet. Should be going in 2 minutes. Excuse me for the delay. My computer shut down on me randomly. It's never a good sign. I think that this will help. If you don't already have one, please have a chair nearby. I plan to use it for today's class. Okay, good. And lastly, one more thing. The old trusty watch. All right. We had the computer shut down, the internet broke, which goes perfectly with today's conversation of Spanda. So we started off the last class talking about Chit Ananda, which is this at the very core of us in the tantric lineage. They tell us that we have these two powers of universal powers that every single living thing on this planet that we know of and beyond, everything that has ever existed out of consciousness itself, which is us as humans, has two universal energies of bliss and awareness. And it is, these two things are omnipresent. They're always with us and all around us, which is why it's hard to tap into them and tune into them. It's like space. You know, the distance between me and you right now is like tangible, but it's hard to see it. It's hard to see the space between us. It's hard to see the space for you right now between you and your computer screen. You can see your computer, but you're not paying attention to the space that's between it. It's because space is omnipresent. It's all around us. And so what we're usually looking at is the object that exists within a certain amount of space. We're not necessarily looking at the space itself. But space is what fills the room. It's what allows us to have objects that are separate from. So what allows us to have separation as unique individuals is space as well. As well, we all have within us, even though there's a separation, we all have this universal energy that pulses through us that the yogis are calling consciousness, especially in the tantric lineage. And at the core of consciousness itself, we have these two powers called bliss and awareness. And as beings of consciousness, conscious beings, we have those powers within each of us. So I talked about bliss, Ananda Shakti, just to recap, being different than ordinary happiness. Happiness is something that is fleeting. It goes in and out, and it's completely dependent upon whether our needs are met. So if our needs, our expectations, if the circumstances are all the right way for us, the way that we want them to be, then we will have happiness. But blissfulness, Ananda Shakti, the power of bliss, is something that is omnipresent, meaning it is always there with us, even in those unhappy times when our needs are not met. And that's an important conversation, because that's how we know if we're tapped into happiness, which is fun. Happiness is good. But we'll know if we're truly tapped in, if our yoga practice has really done something for us, that we can experience the challenges of life and still, underneath all of that, have this knowing that life is ultimately good, that it's a gift, that it's a privilege to live. So if there's this underlying consciousness, this awareness that we are here as a gift, that it is a gift to be alive, even in the challenging times, then we've tapped into Ananda Shakti. Now, as I said in the email I sent out to you earlier, that it's not something you can just believe in. I can say it and you can read it, but that doesn't create transformation in itself. It's something that you have to experience. So how do we experience Ananda Shakti, blissfulness, if we haven't already? It's at the core of our being. It's already there, yet we can't feel it or touch it or experience it. So here's the teaching of yoga that I like in the tantric lineage as well, that has helped me personally on this path to developing a connection to that, the deeper awareness and bliss. Now, it's a constant practice because I lose it personally. It's not something that you tap into once and then cool, you're so enlightened that that bad things never faze you. That's not how this practice works. That's like the fairy tale of yoga that I think some will sell you on. But yoga is the practice of connecting to these deeper energies at our core. That I'm going to say that again. It's the practice of connecting. Practice, meaning repetition over and over again. It's effortful to connect to these things. It's never just easy, when it comes to practice, because if it was easy, that would be performance. That's not the same thing. Performance in itself is the very essence of doing what you're already good at. Whereas practice is, at its essence, if you think of like sports teams, doing and getting connected to what you're not good at and developing that as a strength. And there's always going to be something to develop so long as we are alive. That in itself is another privilege of being human. Being alive is that we get to work on our faults, our weaknesses for the rest of our life. So in being aware of that as a gift, that's Ananda Shakti. So what I wanted to bring in today was this teaching of Spanda in order to help us understand how to get deep connected to the core of our being, Chit Ananda, awareness and bliss. So Spanda is the pulse of the universe, contraction and expansion. If you look around in nature, this is why in chromatic yoga we're so tied to nature, because if you observe nature, you'll see basically everything about us as humans exists outside of the human body and in nature as well, because the same energy that created nature is what created us. By the way, we are nature. Something we often forget is that nature created us. So the same fabric of everything outside is within us. We're made up of the same elements. So Spanda, when we observed in nature, a good example, I've shared this before with you many months back, is the seed. And right now is really cool because I'm watching our garden at the end of the summer season. I'm watching the arugula right now, or rocket in Europe, as it's no longer, you can't really pick the leaves anymore. You can, but they're not so great. But what happens to the plant is it starts shooting out these little pods of seeds. And those seeds are first in this green pod. And this green pod is a living pod. It's a thing, right? It's got these seeds inside of it. The seeds are green. Now, as that plant starts to die, those pods turn brown and the pod itself starts to die and the seeds inside turn brown. Now, if that pod drops on the ground and starts to degrade over the course of the winter, those seeds might make their way into their ground. And then if they make their way into the ground through the cold, hard winter, and then long enough for the rain to come and sink them into the earth. And then if they land in the earth long enough for the sun to come and hit it with heat, then they might sprout into new arugula plants, which is magnificent. Okay, so the time it takes from plant all the way to come back around and expand itself again into several arugula plants. So one arugula plant can make hundreds of arugula plants, which is incredible. But it's not that all of those seeds will last and make it through the winter. Only the ones that are willing, energetically willing to hold out through the cold winter months, and that hold out through the intensity of the rain season, that maybe they'll get buried. That is the essence of Spanda right there, is that this seed doesn't have it easy. It's not a breeze to become a beautiful flowering plant that gives nourishment to people like myself and you. It takes tremendous time for that to occur. So the seed is contracted, as they would call it in Tantra. It's in a contracted state, whereas the arugula, when it's in full bloom and there's the leaves, right? There's just like all this magnificent energy for us to take in and nourish ourselves. That is in its most expanded state. Then it starts to move towards contraction again. After it blooms into flowers, it moves into the contraction of the seeds. And then it's in contraction until it eventually expands again into several flowers. Now it's several plants. And this is the pulse of the universe. Contract, expand, contract, expand. And that's the very nature, as I mentioned. One arugula plant contracted can then expand, at the end of its life form, can contract into several seeds, right? But then when it expands, it has several arugula plants. It then all of those then contract again and then expand even again. So the universe itself is constantly expanding overall, but it has to contract. This is how our life goes. And if you observe, if you go back to contraction, think about it as in our lives, moments of challenge. The times where we feel like things aren't going our way, life has just thrown us through a loop. We've got all the things that we would hope, the conditions that we thought would be met or hoped would be met, our expectations or whatever. When all of that doesn't go our way, and perhaps we're in that place of unhappiness on the outside, that's a contracted state. If you look back on the times that happened to you, you'll probably can notice, I'd be willing to bet, an expanded state that followed that, where things were going really well for you and things unfolded. And you might even say like, oh, everything happens for a reason. That's where that expression maybe is stemming from, that all of that nonsense that really doesn't feel good as a human being, even though it sucked, it probably gave way, if you allowed it, to something much bigger. And that's to say, like, life itself is a challenge. It's not to say that those challenges don't exist or weren't there. And it's not to say that, they shouldn't have been hard or this is not about like negating sadness, pain, anger, hatred. It's not about negating those emotions, but rather recognize them as just part of nature in contraction, that we're feeling contracted, but this will ultimately expand again because that is part of nature itself. So Spanda, if you look for it within ourselves and in nature, you start to realize that everything is contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding. That's the very nature of existence, of consciousness itself. Okay, so how this helps us tap into Ananda is that we recognize that pulse of nature is omnipresent as well. So Spanda is all around us and within us at all times. And if we recognize that, then instead of being so fully wrapped up in the contraction, we still have our human experience, that part of us that is sad, angry, that's in that contracted state. We have that part of us that feels like things aren't going well, dissatisfaction, that human experience still happens. It doesn't go away. So it's not that we're numbing those things, but there's this part of us that emerges that is beyond all of that, that recognizes that even in those times, that life is a gift, that even that we get to experience that at all is a gift. Because that is recognizing that what we have is a limited period of time in this human experience, and that not all living things get to have and experience what we have, our unique human life. And this comes from appreciation and gratitude, undoubtedly, but it comes from awareness to be able to see the bigger picture. And that is where Ananda Shakti emerges. So we practice Spanda, the pulse of contraction and expansion, and the posture that I thought of for today, the most contracted yet expanded posture in the yoga practice that I can think of is handstand. Handstand is simultaneously the most contracted posture. The core is contracted, the shoulder muscles are contracted, the forearm muscles are all contracted. But that contraction, if you really expand with it, the body lengthens and finds this great expanded line of length. So the contraction of your musculature in handstand leads to magnificent opening and freedom. Now, in one yoga class, we're not going to get to that expansion of handstand where you're going to be balancing a single line in the middle of the room. That would be the most ridiculous promise in the world. Okay, it's not possible. But what we can do is start understanding that contracting our muscles, that working hard to stressing the muscles, and maybe even our emotional body of having to work hard and our mind having to focus, all of that hard work actually leads to a greater expansion. Okay, so let's get started. Hopefully you have a chair nearby, a yoga mat, and a wall nearby you, because we're going to be using that wall. So our main focus today in the shoulder girdle is, instead of, we've done protraction, we've done retraction. Today we're going to do elevation. That's moving the shoulders up towards the ears. Now you may have seen my avoid shoulder impingement videos, which are free on, if you just click that free tab at the top of your desktop computer, or you have in the drop down on mobile after this. If you haven't seen them, watch those videos. How to avoid shoulder impingement. When the arm bones go up, when the hands go up, we want the shoulders to lift up as well. And that's because it turns the joint to face the same direction as the arm bone. So if the arm bone goes up and the shoulders go down, the joint stays here and it creates a shelf, and then the two bones collide into each other. The top ridge of the shelf and the arm bone, if they collide into each other, the soft tissue that runs underneath them gets pinched, and then eventually potentially inflames. That would be called bursitis. Or we have a muscle called the supraspinatus that gets pinched, and that would be a tear of the rotator cuff muscle called the supraspinatus. So if the supraspinatus gets pinched and torn, or the bursa gets inflamed, either way you got pain in the shoulder. So and you probably have limited movement after that, and very much discomfort. So to avoid that, we actually just let the shoulders rise up. Now, the brilliant thing of that is not only do you avoid shoulder impingement, but you also, the magnificent part is, you have greater access to postures like downward facing dog and handstand, headstand, forearm stand, anything when the arms are up overhead. So we'll learn it in handstand in particular, but we'll also learn it in down dog is what I meant to say. And then we'll also learn it in the handstand prep. So to begin, take your arms out, and as your hands rise, let your shoulders rise up with you, and even inward a little bit. So come in towards your ears. That's going to be the muscles called the trapezius. And then you can release them down. And when your hands go down, pull your shoulders down. You know, your hands are down, you can pull your shoulders down. If your arms go up, pull your shoulders up. Let them rise. Okay. And then bring them back down. Let's do it again. Inhale, shoulders up towards the ears. Use your trapezius. And then shoulders down. Now, the other muscles we're going to contract is our forearm muscles today, the muscles that grip the ground. So fingers dig into the earth. These are great for arm balances, but really great for handstands, down dogs, chaturangas, plank. All right, come to all fours, hands and knees. And let's get the forearm muscles contracted. And the way you do that is you dig your fingers into the yoga mat. And as you dig your fingers into the yoga mat, you should feel these muscles firing up. And I'm just going to, noticing I'm not hearing noise. Hopefully you are. Yeah, okay, good. I had a brief freak out moment of maybe I just spoke all of that and you didn't hear a thing. Okay. So now on all fours, gripping the fingers like as if you're turning your hands on and off. Just grip, release, grip, release, grip, release. Okay, and just see if you can, even your pinky and your thumb too, those two grip as well. They tend to be the ones that tend to forget. Okay, grip, release a few times and get these muscles warmed up. And then let's start the cat and cow. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, continue arching and looking up. And I'd like you to notice as you're breathing and as you're moving that the body is constantly representing the spanda, the contraction and expansion. You'll notice as you round your back, the front body contracts, it makes small, but the back body lengthens, right? As you arch your back, it's the opposite. The front body lengthens and expands while the back body contracts. Let's do one more. Inhale, arch and look up. As you exhale, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. If you have any movements you'd like to do to get warmed up in your down dog, you're welcome to it. I'd like you to take a little longer down dog today and then try to really, with your arms, push your weight back into your legs. So use your arms to really push the yoga mat forward so your hips go up and back. Let's take another breath in. And exhale out. Come forward to plank pose on the inhale. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Now pause in your child's pose. Try to walk your hands to the front of your yoga mat all the way forward. I'm lucky that this Second Wind Health Yoga mat has these little lines here, which is quite cool to allow me to see and give me a little bit of distance. If you don't have that, you could always create lines on your yoga mat for distance, dividing it in half, and also creating lines for your hands and your feet really helps. And this way you can stretch the length of your body. So I take my left hand and I crawl it forward. I take the right hand, I crawl it forward, and I get really long. Okay, now you're going to feel your shoulders, hopefully, are touching your ears. And as your shoulders touch your ears, right now, you're probably not using your muscles so much as the yoga mat, if you've got a sticky one, is probably keeping your hands there. Okay, the yoga mat's doing the work for you and stretching out the muscles called the latissimus dorsi. But we're going to try to get the trapezius strong enough to do this instead of just the, flexible. Instead of just having our flexibility capable, we want to have our strength capable of these actions, especially for down dog and handstand. Okay, so come forward to all fours. Now, tuck your toes, but see if you can not move your feet or hands, but go into down dog and then think about getting your shoulders all the way to your ears. Again, the goal today is really to strengthen the muscles called the trapezius muscles, the upper fibers of the trapezius. A lot of us have trap muscle, neck muscle discomfort because these muscles tend to be weak, underused, and misused. They're used at work, maybe for stress, but they're not actually used for what they do, which is elevating the shoulders. So we develop new patterns in the body. Let's take the right leg to the sky on the inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Rise high lunge on the in-breath. And now take your hands by your sides. Pull your shoulders down your back as your palms face outward. I don't think the video is showing enough of my upper body. I'll change that in a second. Okay, so your shoulders go down away from the ears to start. Okay, this is going to be the contracted state for the muscles of the lower fibers of the trapezius and the most expanded state for the upper fibers of the trapezius. For today, we want to expand the upper body, or the distance from our torso to our hands, by lengthening the arms up to the sky and bringing the shoulders up to the ears. So on the inhale, contract your upper trapezius and expand the shoulders up to the ears as high as they go. And then exhale, pull the shoulders all the way down on the way down. Inhale, rise all the way up, shoulders to the ears. Exhale, pull the shoulders down as the hands go down. Again, inhale, reach all the way up, shoulders up, 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 up. Exhale, shoulders go down as the hands go down. Good, hands to the ground, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank pose. Just checking to see if we have enough headroom for you. And exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana. Slide the hands wide, come on your fingertips. Okay, on the inhale, round the back. Feet a little wider. Exhale, soften. Pull the heart forward, retracting the scapula, maybe lifting it up. And release. Inhale, come to all fours. Exhale, pause. Walk your hands forward a little bit. And as you come to down dog, think about your shoulders going towards your ears. Left leg to the sky on the in-breath. Step forward. Inhale, rise up, high lunge. Okay, exhale, hands by your sides, palms face out. Get strong in the legs, strong and stable, so we can focus on the arms. Now I'm going to bring one other element in. You're going to notice that the midsection here, the rib cage, as you take your arms up, the ribs will probably pop out in front like this, and that's due to the contraction of the back body. There's a muscle called latissimus dorsi that when your arms go up, it pulls your back into a little bit of extension, especially at the pelvis there. And there's a lot of things going on. I don't want to get too deep into it here, but we want to activate the abdominal muscles. So contract the abdominals while expanding. Again, spanda is this pulse of contraction and expansion. And like I said, handstand is one of those poses that requires both the ability to contract maximally and expand maximally. So here we go. We pull the front ribs down and you'll feel your rectus abdominals, those six-pack muscles in the front. Maybe they tone up. Maybe you don't feel them as six packs, but you feel a little abdominal action. Then take your arms out to the sides. Keep the abdominal contraction and lift from the backs of your shoulders. Inhale, reach all the way up. Back of your shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, pull the shoulders down. Keep the ribs down. Bring the head back. Inhale, shoulders up, arms up. Ribs down. Exhale, arms go down, shoulders go down. Pull your shoulders down your back. Let's do two more. Inhale. Ribs down, shoulders up. Exhale, shoulders down, hands down. One more time. Inhale, reach all the way up. Shoulders up, ribs down. Exhale, hands to the ground. Let's go to plank pose. Inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Slide hands, fingertips, round the back. Exhale, softness. Bring the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. Again, hands a little further out in front today. Long down dog as your hips go up and back. You're taking a long down dog in order to really push the ground away. Let's take a full breath in and out. Two more breaths. One more breath. Fingers grip the ground.
Lift the heels, walk slowly to the front of the yoga mat. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, bow over yourself. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. To the sun, rise up.
To the heart, Samastitihi. Pause in Tadasana. May we take a moment, close the eyes, and recognize that the pulse of the universe that we call spanda, contraction and expansion, exists right inside our heart. If you acknowledge that the heart inside of us is pulsing, it's contracting, expanding to move life through our veins. How about the lungs constantly contracting and expanding to move air through us in order for us to be able to live and think and feel and be animated in this body? Everything in the universe is pulsing with contraction and expansion that we call this spanda. Acknowledging that this is just a part of nature and recognizing that it is within us is what allows us to realize that even in the contractions that we are still alive, the contracted states that we dislike, that make us unhappy, make us sad, the human pain that we experience that is real, that ultimately it is a gift to be able to live this life with all of its pain and with all of its happiness, the highs and lows. If we can get to this point, and maybe we don't, but if we can, that's tapping into Ananda Shakti, the power of bliss. Reach the hands to the sun. Shoulders go up as the hands go up. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana, forward fold. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Step right foot back. Inhale, rise, high lunge. Again, shoulders up to the ears. Now this time hold as you exhale, pull your front ribs down, so round your back a little bit. Shoulders up to the ears, take the hands back a little bit. And release hands to the ground. Plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide hands wide, fingertips round. Soften. Shoulders back, heart forward. Pull the heart through your hands. Inhale, lift if you'd like. If your back would like, that is. Exhale, release. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, down dog. Long down dog. Now in your down dog, push your shoulders towards your ears and your hips go up and back. You can watch me for a second. So here's like a down dog. Here's one. Now watch the difference. You see that long, expansive push. That's the action of your trapezius muscles. Try it on your own. Really lengthen the shoulders as long as you can and put the weight in your feet by pushing the ground away with your hands. Now, the tendency is to drop your chest towards the ground when doing that. That's not the action. That will actually potentially give you shoulder impingement. So keep your chest lifted, keep your armpits lifted, just push the ground away so your shoulders go towards the ears, not towards the ground. Lift the heels up on the inhale. Exhale the breath out, hopper step. Halfway lift when you get there. Exhale and bow. To the sun, rise, shoulders up to the ears. And exhale, hands to your sides. So we'll do this opposite stretch. You take your palms, turn them out, and then you reach not only shoulders down, but shoulders back first, so retract. Now, reach your shoulders down towards the ground. Even if your heart pops up a little bit, pull your shoulders down so you feel a little bit of a stretch in those muscles that you're strengthening. Down with the hands. Lift up through the head. Take a full breath in and out. Second side, reach up, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, shoulders go up now. Exhale, bow. Half lift on the inhale. Step right foot back as you exhale. Push into your feet, rise, high lunge. Again, shoulders up to the ears, palms face forward for this lunge, okay? It's a little bit more like handstand if you think about it. Now with your shoulders up, you'll notice my ribs are probably poking up a little bit if I show you with the shirt here. The shirt might be deceiving. So I'm going to try to activate the abdominal muscles by pulling the front ribs back. Now what that does is it'll send the hands forward a little bit. So I have to go shoulders up higher and hands back in order to get one straight line, then bring the head back. Take a full breath in. Now my shoulders are really fired up. Hopefully yours too. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale, plank pose. Now in your plank, pause. Grip your fingers into the ground. That's our secondary action today. Even though it's the most important action of handstand is that your hands are fully firmed up on the ground. Your forearms are active. Okay, place the knees down, lower all the way down. Fingertips out to the sides, around the back. Soften as you exhale. Inhale, pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. Come to all fours, hands and knees, pause. Okay, grip the fingers into the ground. Now, I said the gripping of the fingers into the ground, most important part of handstand. It's not our focus today because we're not focused on balance, but it still is the foundation of the posture. So I'd like you to get it really strong, grip your hands into the ground, and then again, we take long, long stance, get the shoulders towards the ears without dropping the armpits. So please watch me for 1 second. I'm going to show you both ways of doing this. A lot of people, when they push, they drop the armpits down. We want to keep them lifted. Watch me for one time, okay? So sometimes when you push, the front deltoids will push the heart to the ground. We don't want that today, especially for handstand. That would hypermobilize the glenohumeral joint. We want that stable. We want this joint, the super stable. We want the shoulder blades to be mobile, okay? So try, can you push shoulders to your ears? That's your shoulder blades mobilizing, but don't let the armpits drop. Keep the armpits lifted. Let's take 3 more breaths. Shoulders towards the ears. To balance that out, squeeze your forearms toward each other. Okay, that'll make a little bit of space near the neck. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Exhale, hop or step. Half lift on the inhale. Exhale and bow. Rise to the sun, Urdhva Hastasana. Shoulders up to the ears. Tadasana as you exhale. Again, let's work here for a few breaths. Pull your shoulders back and then down like you're trying to reach the ground with your hands until you feel the top ridge of your shoulder here, called the acromion process. You want to bring that down towards the ground until you feel your trapezius muscles stretch on both sides. Both hands reach down to the ground, the head lifts up. You can arch your back a little bit here, okay? Just pull your shoulder blades down, the top of your shoulders down. One more breath. All right, now on this inhale, reach the arms up, let the shoulders rise. Exhale, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or hop, chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips round the back. Soften as you exhale. Pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. Grip the ground, all fours. Inhale. Tuck your toes as you go to down dog, hips up and back. Right leg is going to come to the sky on the in-breath. Step forward as you exhale. Push down, rise, high lunge. As you exhale, fingertips on either side of the front foot. Together, straighten the front leg. Inhale, you can flex the foot if you like. Exhale, bow forward. Wag the tail straight back behind you. Take a full breath into your back body. Exhale it out.
Bend the front knee on the inhale. Down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank pose on the inhale. We're going to do a more traditional vinyasa, chaturanga, as you exhale. Okay, so now inhale, up dog or cobra pose, your choice. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. Inhale, rise, high lunge. Exhale, hands to the ground. Straighten through the front leg, option to flex the foot, look forward. Exhale and bow forward. We enjoy a full breath in here, wag the tail straight back. And out. Inhale, bend the front knee. Step to down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank, inhale. Chaturanga. Again, cobra or up dog, inhale. One breath. Exhale, down dog. Let's enjoy. Full breath in. And out. Shoulders up towards the ears. Hips up and back. Down dog is really great preparation for handstand. As from the fingers gripping the ground to the shoulders pushing the ears and the front rib cage pulling in, those are the three primary actions that you really need for a handstand. And that can be done right here. So fingers grip the ground, shoulders push towards the ears, front ribs pull in. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty the breath, hop or step. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Together we rise. Inhale, high lunge. High lunge. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands through the heart to Tadasana. Again, turn the palms out and pull your shoulders down towards the ground. Reach through your fingers to get as low as you can with your shoulders. Lift the top of the head up. So we want these muscles to be supple. The ability to both contract as much as possible and to release that contraction. That's what makes the neck muscles really healthy, the trapezius muscles. Both, that's what any muscle for that matter, the ability to contract and to release that contraction. Inhale, reach the arms up. Contract, contract. Exhale, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Stepping or hopping, chaturanga. Cobra or up dogs, one breath. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky. Step forward as you exhale. High lunge, rise, inhale. Open warrior two. Okay, now in warrior two, take your hands a little bit lower than your shoulders and turn your palms face up. Now, see if you can draw your shoulders first up and then back, and now pull them down. Keeping them down, hands a little lower than shoulder height, and then reach out through your fingers. Stretch the long line of your trapezius that fascially is going to connect all the way down through the biceps, through the forearms, through the fingertips. Let's do one more breath. Now, this front shoulder goes all the way up. Hold here in reverse warrior. Try to get the right shoulder, the front shoulder up towards your ear. Unlocking the long line of the side body and any muscles that hold on to the shoulder that would normally pull it down. Let's get them all the way up. One more breath. Exhale, hands to the ground. Now we're going to pivot the back heel up first. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, straighten through the front leg and bow. We'll do a few of these, okay? Inhale, bend the front knee. Straighten and bow on the exhale. Option to flex the foot. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten and bow. Inhale, bend. Downward dog. Traditional vinyasa, forward to plank, inhale. Chaturanga. One cobra or up dog, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open up, warrior two. All right, so now we're doing the opposite of what we need for handstand, just to make sure that we're creating soft and supple trapezius muscles, muscles that are both able to strengthen and lengthen. That's one of the keys to health in any muscle. Okay, so we turn the palms face up, and we draw the shoulders up and back, and then reach down and out through the hands. Okay, so shoulders or hands a little lower than shoulder height. Reaching down and out. Pull your shoulders down. If you really understand how to pull your shoulders down, the law of Spanda tells us that we'll know how to pull our shoulders up, right? So Spanda is basically the opposite, embracing opposition, the contraction and the expansion, the in and the out, the up and the down. Keep pulling down and out. Palms up. One more breath. Now we balance out the left side. Left side goes all the way up. Use your right hand to kind of pull your shoulder up towards the ear and get nice long length through the left side. Let's do a couple more breaths. Shoulder reaches towards the ears. You might even feel it all the way down in here pulling up as your shoulder goes up. Okay, your latissimus goes all the way down through the sacrum here. And it holds on to the arm bone. Stops it from going up sometimes if it's too tight. Okay, hands to the ground as you exhale. Pivot the back heel up. On the inhale, straighten through the front leg and look forward. Exhale and bow. And let's move. Bend the front knee, inhale. Straighten through the front leg, option to flex the foot. Bow. Inhale. Exhale. I think we did one more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Down dog. Inhale forward, plank. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. And let's take a few breaths here. We embrace the Spanda right within us as we observe our breath. The inhales expand us. The exhales, there's a deflation, a contraction of the body, smaller. The inhales, we get bigger. And the exhales, the body gets smaller. Now, both is needed. You can't inhale without the exhale. That's the nature of life. Lift the heels, look up. Empty the breath, hopper step. In other words, inhale, halfway lift. Can't expand without contraction. And exhale, bow. Rise to the sun, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Hands to your sides, Tadasana. Pull the shoulders down. All right, release the hands to your thighs, bend your knees. Coming into Utkatasana to warm up the back muscles. Push your heels outward, stick your bum to the sky. Lift the heart. All right, now keeping this micro tuck your tailbone. So a little tuck of the tailbone here so you feel your buttock muscles fire up. Lift the heart up. Now, shoulders up to the ears. Place your palms together in front of your face. This ought to get tiring. Lift your shoulders to your ears and really get your shoulders up there to press your palms together. Now, if you can't get your palms together because your elbows are bending like this, don't worry. Just keep your hands apart. And as you develop flexibility in the side body, eventually you'll be able to get your palms together with your elbows straight. But if you can get your hands together, try to really straighten your elbows, but pull the shoulders up towards the ears. Literally, my shoulders are touching my ears. Try to do that. Just 2 more breaths. Careful your eyebrows don't explode. 1 more breath. And exhale, bow. That's what happened to me. My eyebrows got exploded one day. That's why they're so big. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or hop, chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge, ribs down, but shoulders up. Exhale, open warrior 2. Reverse warrior, shoulder goes all the way up to the ear. Exhale, side angle pause, forearm to the thigh. Turn your palm, the top one, the left one, palm out. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. As you take your hand up, let your shoulder rise, 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 and go right up over your ear like so. And then bring it, keep reaching away from you. No matter where you are, reach, reach, reach away, okay? Up, up, up. Shoulder goes, shoulder goes, shoulder goes right up over your ear, and then back down. If you feel any awkwardness, something is happening there. You know, a lack of muscle engagement along the way that potentially is might cause pain. Okay, if you have any pain, just modify. Don't do the whole thing. You can ask me in the Facebook group, visually show me, and see if we can figure it out. But ultimately, see if you can get this real lengthening here. Okay, now place both hands to the ground. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale and bow. Bend the front knee, inhale. Down dog. Forward to plank. Chaturanga. Up dog or cobra, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Left leg. Step. Push down, rise. Ribs down, but shoulders up. Open up, warrior 2. Reverse. Exhale, forearm to the thigh, hand on hip. Sorry, not hand on hip. Palm faces up. Roll your shoulder, the top one, like we did yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. You roll your shoulder out externally, then reach, 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 reach. And release. Bring it up. I even squeeze the shoulder towards the ear a little bit. I really feel the trapezius there. Let's just do a couple more. I'm inhaling to expand. One more. And release. Straighten through the front leg on the inhale. Exhale and bow. Inhale, bend the knee. Downward dog on the exhale. Let's do one more vinyasa. Inhale. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Exhale. Come to all fours, please. Actually, come to a seated position. So you've got everything you need so far. You've really digging the fingers into the ground is going to be what's useful for the wrist, but it also connects the shoulders all the way to the thing that's connected to the earth, the hands. Okay. So take your arms out and up, and as your arms go out and up, bring your shoulders up. Kneeling is a good place for this. Get your shoulders up there. Imagine you're gripping the ground so you can just kind of, wiggle your fingers a little bit, not like this, but like really kind of bear claws, or lion claws, lioness, whatever you got. And then pull your front ribs, these 2 pokey points, down, and think about lifting from the back of your shoulders. Now lift the gaze a little bit up towards your hands. Okay, and then release. You can take your left hand, let me mirror you, right hand, and then relax the, what's this called? This is called the head, away from the shoulder.
Stretching that long line here. Come back. Other side. So it's not just enough to have the hand rest in there. You got to reach the hand away from you and down, and the head the opposite direction. All right. All right. So now we're ready to start our handstand progressions. Okay. We have 2 primary handstand preps today that we'll be using. The first one is down dog at the wall. And that is we want to try to get the shoulders all the way up to the ears and the ribs back. Now, if you're new to this, you're going to be very far away from the wall. Okay, so that's going to look something like this. Your mat will be there. It'll look almost like down dog. And you'll come up on an angle like this and see if you can take one foot up, maybe the other. And that might be where you stop today, just to kind of get used to that feeling. Maybe you put the foot on the wall and you push into it and you come up like so. And you really work shoulders up to the ears and ribs back a little bit. Okay, that's really what we're going for today. If you're a little more used to this exercise, you go slightly closer to the wall. You don't want to overshoot it. Okay, and then you take one leg up and the other. Now, you could take one leg off, but you're not trying to move away, because God forbid, if you try to move away, you got nothing behind you, and that's a real recipe for disaster, okay? So you just take one leg straight up and down, and one leg remained firmly on the wall, okay? What's the goal today? Focus on your fingers gripping the ground for wrist support, but really push shoulders up to the ears, develop that, what it's called is elevation of the scapula, but because the arms are up overhead, it's really called upward rotation of the scapula. It turns the angle of our glenohumeral joint so that the arm bone has the ability to go all the way up there. Really, the arm bone in this shoulder socket only goes to here. The rest of the way is done by the scapula rotating the joint, okay? So let's try it together. Choose a comfortable distance away from the wall and no pressure. Obviously, nobody's watching you do this, so you don't need to impress anybody. This is for you, okay? Grip your fingers into the ground, lift the hips up, and then move shoulders to the ears like you're in down dog. You are, a short one, okay? Then option, you take one foot on the wall. If you start getting scared, you just say, take a breath here. And then you switch. Okay, then if you're feeling a little more confident and you've done this before, you're getting confident, and over time you can then take the other foot up. You can do what's called L pose and really push shoulders to the ears, developing the strength in the trapezius muscles. Maybe you take one leg up away from the wall and you check in with your trapezius. Maybe you switch other leg up. And then you come down. No need to stay forever. The trapezius muscles tend to be weak for most of us, and so we don't want to burn them out right away. We want to take our time in developing strength in them. Okay, so take your arm, let's say your left arm out to the side, and lay your head over to the right. All right, and release. Let's do the other side. I'm sorry I didn't mirror you. Doesn't matter, you just do one and the other. Shoulder goes down, reach through the hands, the head goes out. Now here's the thing about handstand. It requires tremendous amount of effort and years of not having success. For most people, to be honest, it took me years, 2 years to be able to balance a handstand. And I'm not talking about just kind of casually doing yoga and trying handstand occasionally. I really worked at it with coaches for intense periods of time. And I would get it and I'd be able to balance. But then once you get it, it's not like it stays right away. You have to keep it up and keep practicing for your body to really get into it. So what we're not doing right now is we're not learning how to balance in the middle of the room. I am coming out with a handstand course for that. If that's something that interests you, you can just go to theyogimat.com/handstand. I think should take you to the course. I'm not sure on that, but on the shop page, you'll get it there. Anyway, not the point, what I'm trying to make. The point is that in order to really develop the strength of the body appropriately for handstand, you do have to really contract a lot of muscles over the course of time. So no expansion in life, and maybe this is different from your observation, but from what I observed, it goes directly along with the teachings of Spanda, that no expansion in my life came from without contraction. Like, for example, if I ever did well on a test, it required a lot of studying for me. Some people, yes, you get some things that are just handed to you. We get a few things handed to us. Some of you are book smart. Some of you, I was good at math, so like I didn't really have to study so much. There was like, we all get one little thing, I think, in life that's handed to us like that. Cool, I didn't have to study math. But in the opposite, I couldn't read to save my life. I still can't. I'm fairly dyslexic, and most of the books I ever tried to read would take me hours and hours to just read a few pages. And so growing up, I struggled with reading and anything that had to do with reading. So that had to do with English, social studies, had to do anything where we had to read a book. Okay, so if I had to write something. So most of the time, if I really needed to do well, I had to focus so hard in order to get that good grade. So most of my academic life was really a big challenge. Now, most of us have that with pretty much, I'd say 95% of the things in our life, we really have to work hard for in order to get that expansion. The fruit, the nectar, the joys of the challenges that we face. And honestly, most of the things that are handed us, we don't really appreciate so much. It's like, cool, I was good at math. I didn't appreciate it. I stopped practicing it and I lost it out of college. Okay. But with music, I wasn't so good at, so I really had to focus hard. And so now music has stayed with me through my whole life. And you, I'm sure, have similar things. And this is the teaching of Spanda, because if we start observing it in our past and in our present, we'll notice that all expansion really has to do with some equal opposite contraction. Of course, the expansion usually is bigger than the contraction, but the periods of time for which the contractions take are different. But when we watch the seasons, we watch nature, we see it everywhere. And this is how we get to that Ananda Shakti. Okay, so what we're gonna do is take the yoga mat to the wall for our last drill here. And I'll show you from the side. And I invite you to take a chair. But now, let me put it this way. A chair is both easier, simultaneously slightly more dangerous if you there's two reasons why it could be more dangerous. One, if your chair is slipping when you put your foot on it, like this will be pretty stable here. But if your chair is slipping then or easily knocked over, then it's going to be more dangerous. Okay, I hope that that's not the case for you. So I'll show you first. And you want it far enough away that you're not going to knock it over with your feet, but rather you're going to get here. Watch how I move my shoulders vertical, and then I round my back as I push my shoulders towards my ears. That's the key. Round your back and push your shoulders to your ears, then come up both feet on the chair like so. Now you have a wall behind you, and that's going to give you the safety, okay? If you fell back, you've got something there, okay? Push your shoulders to your ears, shoulders to the ears, and grip your fingers to the ground. Now that's the primary action. So I'm going to invite you all to get into this L pose with feet on a chair. It's very similar to what you just did with feet on the wall, but it is very different muscularly, because when your feet are on the chair, you have to press down through your feet. When your feet are on the wall, you press back. The musculature of having your feet on a chair is far more similar to what it's like to do an actual handstand, where the front body contracts while
expanding the sides of the body, okay? So this is what I'm going to suggest you do. Now, if you've done this with me before and you're ready for the next step, you just take L pose, which means you take one foot off the chair. Now, you got to be close enough to the wall so that if you fall back, you're going to fall into the wall and not over, right? So I take 1 foot to the chair. I go shoulders to the ears and I round the rib cage, shoulders to the ears. Then I take one leg up and this is called L pose. All right, just like so. And then the danger is coming down. Make sure your foot lands on the chair without any stub toes, please. Okay, so just foot on the chair, then down. Do your best to do this with control and choose wisely. Don't go beyond your comfort zone today. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to stay within your comfort zone and work on elevating the shoulders towards the ears. So whatever one you're choosing right now, shoulders go up to the ears. That's the key. Okay, fingers grip the ground, shoulders go up to the ears, and work on those trapezius muscles really activating. And what I suggest is filming yourself doing whichever variation you're choosing today. And once you've filmed yourself, post it in the Facebook group for me to be able to take a look, and then I can support you further and say, yeah, okay, great, but you need more shoulders to the ears, or your ribs need to go in, or try gripping the ground more, elbows straight. I can give you all the little tips if I can see it, okay? So please, it's part of the benefits of being in this immersion is that we have that Facebook group. I'd be delighted to take a look at your handstand and see if I can support you further, okay? But do use a wall, do use a chair. All right, so please come down if you're still up. And let's just, we're gonna take your feet wide. I'm gonna stretch out those muscles that you strengthened. One last time here. And we'll take side angle with the forearm on the thigh. And this arm, you're gonna pin down more by your side, palm up, and pull the shoulder down away from your neck, away from your ear, and reach it through your fingertips. Okay, then the neck and the head, you're going to tilt away from that. Roll the collarbone open a little bit. And you could actually play around with where your shoulder is to see where the greatest lengthening happens for you. And you play around with letting go of your neck. A little bit of movement. This is one of my favorite postures to release the trapezius, but you really got to pull that shoulder away from the ear. It's easy to just kind of like get lost in this neck stretch, but we want to get that trapezius muscle, which attaches at the top of the shoulder here. We want to move it down. All right, come on up. I usually go head last. Woo, yeah. Let's switch sides slow. All right, same thing. Remember, move the shoulder away from your ear. Okay, and release. Brilliant. Come on down to downward facing dog. Take your right foot outside of your right hand. Today we'll close with a lizard pose. And take your forearms to the block or the ground, whichever works for you. Or hands to the ground if the forearms are too much, just like so. So the teachings of Spanda, the pulse of the universe, the contraction, expansion that is constant, ever present, exists directly within us, that pulse right within our heart, within our lungs, with our life circumstances. And if we recognize it as a natural part of consciousness itself, a natural part of the universe itself, and part of being human as beings of nature, then instead of getting so caught up in the roller coaster of the expansion and contraction, it's not a surprise when things contract. It's just part of nature, and things will always expand again. From that practice, I have found personally that it's easier to acknowledge and connect to that deeper core of our being, awareness and bliss. Chit Ananda, Chit awareness, Ananda bliss. These are the Shaktis, the powers of the divine or nature of the pulse of the heart, however you want to phrase it, the energy of the universe, consciousness itself. So these are the powers, the Shaktis of universal consciousness. Okay, switch sides. Can either go through down dog, or I usually like to go through all fours for that one. Ananda Shakti, the power of consciousness that is bliss. Like space is all around us, ever present. We're never without it. But because of the nature of the mind, to get wrapped up in emotions, which is just what the mind is, it is a beautiful part of being human, is that we actually have emotions that we can experience. That's the word, key word. Experience is the mind. That is what the mind does. It experiences through thought and emotion. That's how we process this physical life. Now, when we have negative emotions and negative thoughts, while the desire is to move away from them, and there's nothing wrong with that desire either, we just acknowledge, or by acknowledging that this is part of what it means to have a mind. This is part of the gift of being human, is that we get the fullness, the full range of experiences. And that's just how the universe operates. And when we really recognize that, Ananda Shakti emerges. And you can't take it from me. It's not something you just believe in, but something you have to observe. That's why I'm bringing the teaching of Spanda in. Observe the contraction and expansion in your life, and Ananda Shakti will emerge. That's the teachings. And if it doesn't, no big deal. Maybe this is not the teaching for you. Okay, come on out. All fours. Let the hips rest for a second. Arch the back. Make your way onto your back. Take an even pose. Either hug the knees outside the chest or happy baby. And Shavasana. Any variation of Shavasana you'd like. If you want to take cactus arms, you want to take constructive rest, some sort of restorative pose, you can. Let's take a full breath in through the nose. And let it out. Recognize the pulse of energy inside. The heart is beating. us back to your breath. Deepen each breath. Awaken the fingers and toes. Bend your knees, roll to your right side. Come up to a seated position. Place the hands at heart center. With gratitude for this body, for this practice, for the energy that is pulsing through us that we call consciousness, the heart, spanda, energy, whatever it is for you, nature. We bow in with gratitude for it. Thank you for practicing connection to the pulse of spanda, the contraction and expansion that is natural to all things in this universe, including ourselves and our lives. Namaste. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this practice of spanda and connecting to your trapezius muscle. By the way, the muscles that elevate the scapula up in handstand are the upper fibers of the trapezius, and the muscles that pull the shoulders down are the lower fibers of the trapezius. So essentially the same muscle does opposite actions, which is pretty cool that one muscle has contrasting actions to it. I didn't even really think of that when teaching today in the spanda, but so that's kind of, I don't know, fun to think about. So real quick, thank you to Second Wind Health, who provided this kick-ass yoga mat and the free strap for you all. Hopefully you picked up your free strap, and also the book that we are working out, Tantra Illuminated. That's the one we're working out of this month. Just a reminder if anybody wants to pick that up. It's a big book. It's really intense and in depth. And if you're lacking this stuff, you might really love it. I also have the audio version, which I find harder to follow than the book. The book is a little bit easier because it is so in depth and there's some visualizations in there that I find easier, but there is an audio book. And then lastly, I've got 200 and 300 hour teacher trainings coming up. These are online trainings. The 300 hour starts September 20th. If you're interested in that, I'd love to take a phone call with you, discuss the ins and outs, whatever your reservations for it. Or if you have any concerns, you have any questions, I want to chat with you, discuss. There are payment plans up to 2 years in length. So hopefully we try to make this as accessible as possible. And also, if anything happens financially to you, like over the winter due to COVID-19 or whatever, we could always pause payments. That's not a problem. I'm not out to like steal your money or anything. So, you know, we make it work however it is. The 300 hour training, you can click the link above. If you're on desktop, it just says 300 hour. That's for certified yoga teachers. If you're not a certified yoga teacher, you're going to be interested in the 200 hour training, which starts October 1st. I'm also taking calls for that as well. And while they start in those dates, September 20th for 300 hour and October 1st for the 200, they start then. You could get started right away if you want to get a jump start on it. As soon as you sign up, you have access to the courses. We'll discuss further on our phone call together. So send me a direct message, email me theyogimat@gmail.com, and we'll discuss a time that we can get together. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care of yourselves.